I have covered previously a lot of 2-in-1 laptops, and none of them come close to this model here from LG. It is the LG Gram. It's a 2-in-1 16-inch laptop, and it is in fact the Guinness World Record holder for the lightest 2-in-1 16-inch laptop. It is phenomenal what they've been able to do. It's a feat of engineering to get this thing so thin too as well and light. So 12.4 millimeters. It only weighs 1.39 kilos, which is absolutely fantastic. 16-inch OLED screen up to 120 Hertz, supports touch, stylus, resolution is 2880 by 1800. It is powered by the Intel Core Ultra 7 155H. It's got 32 gigabytes of LPDDR5 RAM and 2 terabytes in total of storage and a 77 watt-hour battery. Thunderbolt 4 is on board here and Wi-Fi 6E. So in this full walkthrough, I'll let you know exactly what you need to know basically about this model here, all the pros and some cons that you should definitely be aware of. And included with the LG Gram, you will find a card there to register your warranty, the limited warranty information, a notebook owner's manual. There's just a quick guide there. Type-C to Type-C cable. This is the charger, which is very small, 65 watts, Type-C. And then our stylus, which is an active stylus. This does support 4096 pressure levels. You've got one button right here and a clicky top on it, which I kind of like. I end up fidgeting with that more than I probably should. So it magnetically clips onto the side. Okay, you can see it can stay on here. And it does wirelessly charge itself too. Now, this is an incredibly light laptop, as I talked about in the intro there. So it comes out to be just 1.37, round that up to 1.38 kilos. And that for a 2-in-1 16-inch laptop, well, that's why it's the Guinness World Record holder for the lightest 16-inch 2-in-1 laptop. But that isn't our total travel weight, which I want to find out. So the cable and the power supply, just a fraction over 1.5 kilos. So fantastic weight with the Gram. And then just how thin it is incredible too. So this is 12.4 millimeters, the thickness, yet we get full-size Type A ports. Other brands don't do this, they just use Type C. So we've got two USB Type A's, 3.2s Gen 2s, 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. That's on the right side. Then on the left side, plenty more ports there. Another two Thunderbolt 4 ports. So those are full speed, supporting also power delivery, 40 gigabits per second, both of them with video out. And we get HDMI 2.1. So excellent for ports. That little dot right there, that is a status LED. Along the back, this is our exit vent for the cooling. Now there are dual fans inside this, and later on I will be covering the thermals. The hinge, so both of those are a little bit different than a normal laptop. That's because, of course, it is a 2-in-1, so we can flip the screen right around into the tablet mode and the various other modes that you can use it. There are two downward firing speakers. We have these small little feet here, and they are quite small. They're not very tall, those feet. And here there is the intake. So that's where the two fans are right here. And there are two SSDs inside this. They're 1 terabyte each, PCIe 4.0, and a 77 watt-hour battery. Now this area right here is if you're going to be doing a lot of demanding work on this, like editing video or even just gaming or something, it gets very hot around this area and just above the keyboard, which I'll show you now. And that is just this area. Now, the reasoning is, I think, because of just how slim it is. Now, that is running it in the performance mode too with the fan, which I'll cover later in this video. You can put on more of a high-speed option, so to make it a little louder, but it pushes the thermals a little more. But that is just one area where I've noticed that it does get quite hot. Now, the palm rest is very good. This is all made out of alloy, the build. Now, it's military-grade drop resistance too with this, so it's their military-grade 810. Palm rest is great, and the touchpad, I cannot give this touchpad enough praise, really. I think it is one of the best that I have used with a Windows laptop. I really like the sensitivity on it. It's not overly sensitive. It's got a nice smooth glass finish to it, and we do, of course, have the hardware left and right mouse buttons in there, supports all of the gestures, all fine. And it just really is an absolute joy to use. And I find that I don't need a mouse. And I'm a mouse person. I'm not a touchpad person. This touchpad, it's got to be a 9 out of 10 when it comes to Windows laptops. Now the keyboard, it is backlit. And typing on this keyboard, it is very nice. It's a good keyboard, a lot of space to it. Being a 16-inch laptop, we have The number pad here, so a lot of space there. Power button is separated away, not where the delete key is, which some brands do. And often brands like to put the power button just outside, but where it is fine. I haven't accidentally tapped that. And you will notice that, yes, the matte finish on it does pick up a few little bits of smudges and things when you're using it. Now pressing down here, tiny little bit of flex, but overall very good keyboard, about 1.4 millimeters or so of travel. And I'll show you the backlighting on it now. This is it here on the highest setting, so it's a nice bright keyboard, and what I like is with the backlighting here, it's not shining out, there's no glare underneath the keys. It's one of the best for that too, that I've seen recently, and it is function F6, that's off, and this is in the lowest level there for the backlit keyboard there. So excellent keyboard combination, touchpad, and it's just a joy to work on. Being a 2-in-1, the Gram does have its different modes. So this, of course, is just your standard laptop mode, like any other laptop. The tent mode, which is pretty much self-explanatory. I've got it propped up like a tent. Presentation mode, so that means that I've got the keyboard, of course, down and the screen towards me. I quite like this for watching movies, that kind of content. It's really good. And then finally, if you push that screen down, well, you've got yourself a large 6-inch tablet, which is pretty heavy for a tablet, but this means you can lay it completely flat, and this is great for people that are using the stylus. Now, this screen is fully laminated and it supports 10 touch points. Touch accuracy is very good for minimizing things, maximizing. I've really had no problems. You can see when I tap the screen, there is a little bit of wobble in the presentation mode. And if I was using it like a normal laptop, that's to be expected because it's supporting the screen the way it is. Now, the bezels at the bottom, you can see are a little bit larger than the ones at the top. Side bezels are looking very good. We've got our webcam full HD up here in the top, and I'll give you a sample of that just after this. So the accuracy of that touch, good. And it's 120 Hertz, this display too as well. It's OLED, 2280 by 1800 is the resolution. Now I'm measuring 410 nits for the maximum brightness. So it is bright and being glossy. Yes, it is a little reflective, but the color gamut coverage here, very good. So looking at RGB, that's 100%. We get NTSC, of 92%. Adobe RGB is 94%, so that's fantastic, great for professional use. And P3 color gamut, 100% there too as well. So the blacks are very deep, great contrast, and there's no ugly gap with the digitizer glass, and then the display below. Now what I've noticed, if you look at the glass really closely, you can see a tiny little bit of grain to it, and that is where the digitizer is for the glass, and then you have the IPS below, but you don't see it at normal viewing distances. It's only if you look really close at it, but it's a fantastic 120 Hertz OLED screen with a variable refresh rate too, so from 480 up to 120. Now the stylus having it on the side of the laptop there magnetically is okay, but that's just a temporary place to put it because it's not permanently stored there. The magnet's not super strong, so if you place the Gram and the stylus in your laptop bag, then it's simply going to get knocked off and you could end up losing it. So I can draw right up to the very edge of the screen. There's not like a slight little border limitation. No, it goes right to the very end, which is good. Pressure sensitive levels, which I'll demonstrate now. So this is me pressing very lightly. I'll start to press a little bit thicker. So 4096 pressure sensitive levels. Now, as soon as it does detect the stylus, we have palm rejection. Although, why is it still working? Touch input. Because I think it's because I still have that enabled here through Bamboo. That is why. But writing with it, it is very quick. And I'll just quickly demonstrate here. Very messy writing from me, sorry about that. Hello world. You can see the response time of it is good. And overall, I do like the stylus. I think it does work well. And I like the fact that it's a full-size stylus too, not like a real small little one, like something like you get with a Z Galaxy Fold or anything. No, full proper size. And then the button at the top to switch over different modes. And this one right here, depending on the app, you can assign different controls to that, of course. So it is I think, a good stylus we get with the Gram. Now the Gram does come with Windows 11 Home, not the Pro version. Everything has been very quick and snappy considering, well, the chipset that is to be expected in the Arc graphics. Performance is good. Now we get 2 terabytes of storage in total, but it's over 2 separate 1 terabyte drives. You'll see here when I go into the Explorer, let's take a look at the PC. You'll see the C and D drives separate there. So that's good in a way, because if you do a factory reset, you could just do the C drive to have it reset the C drive and keep all your files still on D if you wanted to, or get it, of course, to clean both of those drives. Now you can see there the speeds of the PCIe 4.0 SSDs are very good, no complaints. Write speeds I have seen a little faster, but this is typically better, those reads at least, than what I normally see with most of the laptops I'm covering here on the channel. The RAM, you can see it's set to a very high speed, so almost the 7500 mega transfers, or here listed as megahertz, and 32 gigabytes, which is a good, healthy amount. I think 16 nowadays is really becoming too long. You can see that I don't have much open, and I only have, if I had 16 gigabytes, I would only have about 4 free. So 32 is the sweet spot now, and great to see that they have that with this model. So a few things here that I wanted to show you that are interesting. So cameras, we get, well, it's listing 3 there, because we've got our infrared camera, the main full HD camera, and then the mirror metrics virtual camera for its privacy feature, which I'll talk about soon. The network adapter here, Intel. So there's no gigabit or 2.5 gigabit LAN port on this, but we do have very good wireless Wi-Fi 6E from Intel. Now, it isn't Wi-Fi 7. Most people don't have Wi-Fi 7 routers. Sure, that would be good for future proofing, but we don't get it here with it. Not that I'm really complaining. And of course, you have Windows Hello because of the infrared camera. You can log in without needing to type any passwords or anything. And this, the AI Boost, which is the NPU part now of the core Ultra 7 series that we get, or the Ultra series, the 7, the 5, and the 9. And we have the 7 here. So it's the Ultra 7 155H. So 4.8 gigahertz max turbo, 16 cores, 22 threads. It's a lot of power in such a thin and light laptop here, but will that have an effect on the performance? Well, it does a little, and I'll talk about that in a little bit more detail very shortly. But here's Cinebench R23. They still like to run. I don't really like the newer version that much. Can't really relate to it. That's why. Performance is a bit disappointing here. I did expect better out of this particular chipset. By no means is this bad. I mean, it is very quick and snappy, this laptop. However, I've seen better out of this exact same chipset and RAM speed combination. See, here you'll see that with the integrated graphics, which is Intel's Arc, it's a big step up from Iris Xe. And the graphics score, good, but again, I expected a little bit better here. The CPU score is fine. You see with Time Spy, that is a very good score. So it's high for integrated graphics. Not the highest, again, that I've seen, but the CPU score really should be a bit higher. And this is because I was experiencing, and seem to always do when I push it really hard, a little bit of thermal throttling. Geekbench 6 result. Again, very good. Single core especially. That's one of the highest ones I see for this particular chipset. Multi-core scores lacking behind by about 1,500 to 2,000 points there. And it is all because of what I've been experiencing here with our thermals. So you can see 108 degrees Celsius. Whoa, hang on. Yeah, this is the trade-off of being so thin that it gets a little warm. And they're running a power limit here, power limit level 1, of 35 watts. Now, other brands run 45 with the same chipset, maybe even 50 or a bit higher. And because it's so thin, LG's had to limit this a little, but it still hit these kind of temperatures, still. And this is where it's throttling. This is where it's affecting our performance a little bit. And it's a bit sad to see. And I kind of expected this when I first looked at this laptop. That was my biggest question that I have now answered. Yes, it throttles. So the above the keyboard does get a little bit hot. The underside as well, when you're using it, if you use it on your lap, it will get very hot. So again, the thermals, this is the whole downside to this particular otherwise amazing laptop here. Now the fans, I'll give you a sample now of it under a very heavy load here, running a benchmark, just to give you an idea of what it's like. And the software that LG includes is very useful, all of it, apart from the pre-install, which I would kind of classify as bloat, really, as McAfee. We probably know everyone about that. It's antivirus, And it might be useful for some people, but I think for most people it's not. It's annoying because it nags you to go along and sign up for a subscription. I think it slows down the PC a little. I uninstalled it. Windows does have built-in antivirus. So the Smart Assistant here from LG that you get with the Gram has got a lot of useful options in here. You can see it's got some settings there that's going to set it up for whatever you're going to be doing. So if you're studying, cinema, work, outdoor, custom settings. You've got your cooling mode. Now, all of the benchmarks I did run, I put into the high mode. So this is going to give us the absolute best performance that it can, trying to keep it as cool as possible. The trade-off is, of course, the fan noise there too. So you have the function lock option there, extended battery life. So that's just going to allow you to charge up to only 80%. This is great for making the battery just last as long as possible, of course, not affecting the capacity as much as always having it sitting around at 100% charge isn't good, just like EVs. Instant booting, touchpad, and the touchscreen, you can disable that. AI noise cancellation, your display temperature there. Okay, you can adjust this too. Pixel saver, great for the OLED. So they've got all this OLED care section, dark mode. And I also recommend this one. I don't know if it's here. I don't think I've seen it. And that is to get the taskbar at the bottom to automatically hide as another one to help prevent any burn-in with a OLED screen. So on this side, this is the dashboard that I just showed you. You've got your keyboard settings, so the backlight and the time you want it to turn off, and you have your power settings, all right? So this again is an area that a lot of people would find useful. USB offline charging. You've got your display settings that I just showed you, and then the noise cancellation is pretty straightforward. You'll hear a sample of that with my webcam sample. So that's the Smart Assistant, which is the built-in control panel, really. There is also this app that LG includes with the Gram, and it is called LG Gram Link. And this is a wireless connection where you can seamlessly just transfer files, but also remotely control your phone, which I'm doing here right now. So I've got some notes there. Now, if I want to use my cursor and keyboard, you just need to pair them up with Bluetooth, which I am doing right now. So I can tap in here to my to-do list. And now, using my keyboard, I can go along and just type anything, of course. And it's not actually that bad, the latency. I was expecting it to be worse than what it really is at the moment. So this is me just doing this, all controlling my phone on the screen here with LG Gram Link. And I just think it's very useful software to have. Now, I'll just test that latency again. So using the cursor here on the screen, you can see a little bit of a delay, but really it's still super usable for stuff like this. And then touching my phone myself, that is even faster. I'm noticing less of a delay here. That seems almost instantaneous. So that's impressive. Very useful software, this one. And I'll get out of this just to show you the other screens here. So we can transmit files wirelessly, your gallery over to the PC or the PC to the phone, as you can see here. And you can also extend your screen. Now, I wouldn't do that with a mobile phone because if I was to do that, I think a mobile phone's just a bit too small for that. But it'll work well and does with tablets. So that's the Gram Link there. I think it's reasonably useful software that a lot of people can take advantage of. And if you're someone that's worried about privacy, they have this LG Glance, and this is from Mirror Metrics. And what it is doing is detecting my eyes and that I'm looking at the screen. So it's got my present detection right now. So if I decide to snooze it, which I can, I don't want to have it active, I can just disable it. But if I take my eyes off the screen, it's going to dim it right down. Now, it can also detect even someone at the back of me, that someone approaches that could easily read my screen. Privacy alert, it'll do that. It can dim the screen. You can get it to time out, lock the screen. So this is good if you're worried about your privacy, someone reading some important, very confidential documents, then I think it's a very handy feature to have on a laptop such as this, and especially for businesses that deal with that kind of thing. So a good little extra that, again, is included. This is the included software from LG. Now, if you really intend to do a lot of work on this that is demanding like 3D editing or video editing or something, which I'm trying now, it works out fine, and I highly recommend you put it into the performance mode to get the maximum performance out of this. Now, with Adobe Premiere Pro, this is the latest version, 2024. The timeline is very quick. Now, this is a lot better than what I saw previously with Iris XE graphics. And as I've mentioned now in another video that I've been testing out art graphics, the timeline and the way things do work here, and when you're just sizing things up and everything with Adobe Premiere Pro feels like dedicated graphics, almost. Almost. It's so close now, that performance. Something like an RTX 3050 feel to it when editing video here. And that's the improvements we get with the art graphics. So it is good. It's fluid, the timeline. It doesn't drop any frames at all that I could see at the quarter playback resolution. Let's find out how long it takes now to encode 1 minute at the YouTube preset of 4K. Okay, so that finished up in approximately 31 seconds. So that's as fast as other laptops. That's good. It's not lagging behind in that area. So encoding 1 minute of footage, that's the time. It's still very good. And if you're going to be encoding a very long, for example, a 20-minute clip, and you don't have a huge amount of grading and whatnot, then it should take approximately about 15 minutes to encode it at 4K, which is very good for integrated graphics. And how does that Intel Art graphics run? Well, for older titles, this is Fallout 4 that I'm going to test. And at 1200p, I've set it to the lowest settings. I think this should be very playable. And let's find out here. But older titles normally run quite well now with the art graphics. And here on the Airship, it's still looking good, that frame rate at the 1200p setting. Although, of course, I do have the lower settings. Now, I'm going to cause a little bit of chaos to see that if I start to fight people. Oh, why are they not even attacking me? Okay, now, the frame rate that's still good. Still reasonably playable. Now, if you wanted it to be a solid 60, just lower that resolution down, of course. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, this is set to 800p on the lowest settings, and it's a little choppy, a little laggy, getting in the low 30s averages here, so not so great, even with the lower settings and 800p. I wouldn't go any higher than that because it would just be too choppy. It's kind of playable, but really I want 60 frames per second. Now, it doesn't beat the current integrated graphics champion, not here, which is the Radeon 780M. It would be able to do at least 10 to 15 frames per second on average with the same settings, more. The Witcher 3, now I have it set to 720p, but the performance should be better than this. It's a bit disappointing, and what's happening is it's starting to, or did before, thermal throttle, although it's showing 71 degrees, but it was throttling, and I think it is throttling again at the moment. Seems to have gotten a bit better, although, wow, yeah, just dipped down to 16 frames per second. So this is a bit disappointing. And just above the keyboard, from all the gaming and the testing I've been doing, it is getting very hot, the gram. As for our speakers, so there are two of them downwards firing, and I would give these a rating of 6.5, well, 7 out of 10. Now, there is a little bit of bass to them, some mid, some treble, but I do feel they should be a little bit louder. So here's a sample with some NCS, no copyright songs, the track that I'll play at 100% volume. And this is our webcam, so full HD, 30 frames per second. I like the quality that I am seeing. The audio you are listening to, that is being recorded on the LG Gram. It is the two dual array microphones that are either side of our webcam. And when the webcam is on, there is a green status LED to let you know that it is on. As for Linux support, well, not so good. I have tried the latest Manjaro build here, open source drivers. Touchscreen does work, but it's way off the accuracy. Like, I'm talking like when you touch it, it's to the right by about 6 inches. I can't seem to get the keyboard to work either, so there's a lot of things going on with the drivers. What does seem to work, however, is the audio and the brightness controls. They seem to be working for the screen too as well. So there's going to be a bit of work involved to get everything running smoothly, hunting around and finding drivers for the Gram. Okay, so onto the battery life then. 77 watt hour battery. I can get just over 7 hours at 30% brightness with YouTube, streaming, documents, stuff like that. So light work, it will be able to make it just through a full day. And the power supply, it's very small, it's very light, easy enough to take that with you anyway. And if you do want the maximum performance Windows laptops, you're going to have to plug them in anyway. That's just the way it is. So the keyboard checks out. It's a good keyboard. Palm rest, good. The build quality, magnesium alloy, military grade. The protection that does have to it. So it's 810H rated. And we've got a touchpad as well. That's probably the best that I've used in a very long time on a Windows laptop. It's a fantastic touchpad. And then the versatility of this being, of course, a 2-in-1. So it can be a tablet and then a presentation mode, tent mode, you know the way it is and what these can do. And it just gives us a little bit more out of the typical, you get that traditional laptop, but this is a lot more flexible. Not everyone's going to be holding it in tablet mode, of course, for a long time at that weight, but it's a good option to have, especially laying it down flat on a tablet with the stylus for artists out there, and good stylus too. So we have Thunderbolt 4, we've got decent performance. However, that brings me on to the cons, that the performance isn't as good as other laptops because of those thermals. And I know it is always a battle for brands and engineers to try to get that balance between power limit, thermals, and surface temperatures and everything. And this is where I just feel with the LG Gram in its current state, with its current BIOS that I've been testing out, it does get a little too hot. It gets up to 54 degrees Celsius just above the keyboard. Underneath does get quite warm. That is only when you're pushing it hard. So for general day-to-day spreadsheets, answering emails, and browsing and media consumption, all that sort of stuff, doesn't get really hot, and it is good then, but it's just when you decide to really push it hard, editing video, any kind of demanding work, is when those temperatures start to creep up on this unit, which is a bit of a shame. The other is the speakers on them. The two speakers, they are decent, but they should be louder, I feel. So there we go. That is my review of the LG Gram. This is the 16-inch model, the 2-in-1. Thank you so much for watching.